everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today I'm going to talk to you about a fragrance. It is perfume review time, and I know you guys love the perfume reviews, and I try to bring them as much as possible, but it's not so easy. You know, I got to get into that mood. And today is Allure Sensuelle's eau de parfum. It's the time for, wait, I have, what do you call it? Turn. It's Allure Sensuelle's Turn. Here we have the packaging. Allure Sensuelle eau de parfum, not the eau de toilette and not the pure parfum, but the eau de parfum. Did it actually focus? Let's do this again. I have the smallest version, which is 35 milliliter, not millimeter, 35 milliliter version. Just because I wanted to test it. I never really felt much for this fragrance in the past, so, but I thought to myself, well, I have to, you know, I'm doing my research, I'm going through the entire, you know, Chanel spectrum, so this one is a part of Chanel's creation, and especially, you know, part of Jacques Polge's legacy. So let's see how this one smells, shall we? Let's put it there and there. I'm going to do both. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, let me tell you, because when you begin smelling it, there's so much going on there. Aldehydes, it's acidy, it's alcoholic. I mean, of course, all fragrances have alcohol, but it's like really in your face, and it really wants to, it bites, you know, you want to like close your eyes, but it dries down your throat at the same time. So you don't love it immediately. For years, you know, when was this one made? 2005, I think? Yeah, 2005. So that's what? That's 10, 11, 12 years ago already. And only now am I kind of really falling in love with it. And yes, I am falling in love with it. Why? First of all, it is one of those hidden jewels of Chanel perfumery because it's kind of, it's beyond, it's not really marketed that much. It exists as eau de toilette, as eau de parfum and pure parfum, but the pure parfum, you know, in many countries, it has been discontinued. It's not for sale anymore. In France, you can still get it. There's no commercial promoting it. It's a flanker of, you know, the first Allure for women. I find this one much better than the actual Allure. To me, it's a fragrance in its own right. It's like a mix, perhaps, of Allure and Coco, the first Coco. It's oriental, but it's kind of European. There's a lot of flowers in there, but you can smell away distant lands as well. It's a very spacious fragrance. It gives you the feeling of humongous landscapes filled with flowers. And it really, this might sound a bit creepy, but like, you know, Prometheus or the Alien Saga, but not like the creepy plot when it's creepy. No, when it's still full of nature, but you have those gorgeous mountains and you have those meadows and you have, you know, the canyons, and you have all of that ginormous landscape and everything that kind of goes with it, but covered up with flowers and cool breeze, a lot of cool breeze. So there's, the flowers have a warmth in them, but then there's the coolness as well at the same time. So let's get to the notes. This one has, in its top notes, pink pepper, then it dies on me, of course. Well, the notes are not listed. No, they are listed, but the stupid computer is really not collaborating. I hate technology in this respect. All right, we got pink pepper, we got bergamot, we got peach, mandarin orange, and patchouli. Those are the top notes. Now, already the top notes are a mess, if you think about it, because we have this, you know, we have the patchouli, and then we have the fruits, and we have, you know, the citruses, and the pepper, you know, it's all mixed in one. You could almost say it's like a male, it's an opening for a male fragrance, you know. And you know I hate to genderize fragrances, but In the middle notes, we got dried fruits. And yes, they're there. We have this potpourri of dried fruits, but they're like 80s style dried fruits. You know, they're like dried fruits that I kind of sometimes wish that carnation and clove would also have inside of them in the cocoa composition from the 80s. We got Bulgarian rose, Turkish rose, jasmine, iris, everything, all the good stuff. Like the Chanel fragrances, ingredients, the Chanel flowers, the iconic Chanel flowers, you know, the signature Chanel flowers are all in the middle notes here. It's a landscape of flowers. But sprinkled, you know, on top of all of these flowers are these dried fruits. So you have this freshness and this dryness at the same time. So you got the sweet, and that's why I say the cold and the warm at the same time. Base notes, we got vanilla, lavender, and you know, Chanel and vanilla, it's kind of rare for Chanel to do vanilla. You know, Dior's signature ingredient is vanilla, all sorts of vanillas. But, you know, for Chanel to tackle with vanilla, it's rare. And even when they do tackle with it, and I said this in Jersey, you could check out the review of Jersey in the description box down below. Jersey has a stronger vanilla. This one, delicate, almost imperceptible. Patchouli, lavender, sandalwood, amber, vetiver, spices, and labdanum. Now, amber and vetiver less so, but sandalwood and spices. Amber and sandalwood. This is the sandalwood that they also use for Egoist, you know, but it's a more pissy type of sandalwood because there's the vetiver. And you know, Sycomore, Chanel is exclusive fragrance, and by the way, I only suggest you to purchase the eau de toilette, not the eau de parfum. You're just going to waste a lot of money on the eau de parfum. That vetiver, and you could check the review in the description box down below as well of Sycomore, it's pissy. There's something acidically pissy about it as well, which I love. And that type of vetiver is here. So we have that slightly pissy tone that covers up the sandalwood. So you got to kind of like that. If you're not into that sort of stuff, this sounds super awkward. It's not meant in that way at all. But if you're not into, let's call it an aggressive, more aggressive tone of vetiver mixed with sandalwood, and then the spices, and then the pepper, and then the dried fruits, and then the iris, and the Turkish rose. And what's the other rose? Was it a May rose? No. Turkish rose and Bulgarian rose, I think it was. And then the jasmine. You're not going to like this one because it's in your face. It explodes and it begins super aldehyde or aldehydic. But this is one of those, and I always repeat this, and I never stress enough to repeat it. To me, a good fragrance is defined by its dry down. If the dry down of the more we go into the dry down, the more it kind of vanishes and dies on our skin, the more I have to like it. And there's where you can see if the composition and the ingredients are good quality or not. How long does a certain scent prevail and remain on our skin for us to still love the fragrance? And if the dry down is mesmerizing and making you kind of warm up the spot where you sprayed the fragrance if it makes you want to kind of inhale it over and over and over again, that means you've got good ingredients in that fragrance. A lot of perfumes notice it when you try them out. Once they hit that dry down, they're shite. Literally, it just ain't good. But a good fragrance is going to be amazing in the dry down. And this one really develops the more time passes. It's not the best in the opening notes. It kind of bugs me even, you know, and it takes its time. But then from that kind of scratchy, acidy, aldehyde in your face, it kind of ends and veers towards something positive with time, which is amazing. And that is something to look forward to when we're trying Allure Sensuelle. If you were to go, you know, through all of these landscapes that I described to you before, at a certain point you would get tired. I mean, you either fly through them, I don't know if you have the capacity of flying, you're on a dragon or something, or you're on some sort of vehicle, or you're walking through them. You're going to notice that with time, all of these intoxicating smells that are super aggressive in the beginning are going to start to blend together. And they're going to become creamy and soft and sensual. And they're going to become kind of like, not balsamic in a way, but they're going to turn into the best of what we know and have learned to love from Chanel, which is their dry downs. And it's something, there's a bit of Chanel No. 5 in here, there's a bit of 1932 in here. As I said, there's a bit of, you know, the potpourri of cocoa in there. It's reminiscent of Allure, but it's a different fragrance altogether. And I think the spices, the pepper, and the dried fruits, they kind of, those three are the key elements that balance this one out as something a bit more zesty than the other fragrances that we know from Chanel. It becomes creamy as it dries down, and like my mouth is watering when I smell it. And don't get fooled by this dried fruits aspect. It's not that this fragrance is, how would you call it? You know, you're not going to want to eat this fragrance. You're not going to want to, it doesn't remind you of food. Your mouth waters because it's just so delicious. You want to keep smelling it. But it, you know, it has that cool, warm effect, which cocoa doesn't have. Cocoa becomes very lusciously warm on the skin. This one keeps its distance. It's very sophisticated. We have that milky, creamy touch to it, and it's deep, and it's poetic, and it's luscious. But by its kind of luxurious nature, as we know Chanel for, it's detached. It doesn't really, you know, it stays where it is, and it doesn't want you to come in too close. Now, by that I don't mean the person that's going to smell you, they're going to want to kind of come in closer to smell you, but, you know, you will not be able to bond with this fragrance if you're a dog type of person. And, you know, to me, people are usually classified between like dog types and cat types, just like cats and dogs. Dogs are, you know, super faithful. They stick to you. They love you for what you are. They, you know, they suffer when you're not there. They would follow you everywhere. Cats are more independent, or appear to be, seem to be more independent, especially in their attitudes and in their mood swings. So they would be more detached from you. I think more kind of cat people would like this one. I'm not a cat person. I'm actually allergic to cats. But I'm not also, I don't know if I'm a dog person. I think I'm more of a faithful. Yeah, I think I'm more of like a dog person. But still, I like this one a lot. And but that's because I understand and appreciate very much kind of the beauty of the feline aesthetic, of movement especially, you know, and seduction. So if you're kind of a dog person, but you're into that kind of feline seduction, you're going to be into this. Otherwise, you're probably not. It literally lures you in slowly, very, very slowly. What was almost headachy in the opening, you got to suffer through it and battle through it. That, you know, what was headachy in the opening becomes, with time, and you got to give it that time, at least half an hour, I would say, becomes extremely noble, even. And this is one of those fragrances that, you know, if you were to classify fragrances as VIPs and special famous people, this would be the elegant one, the one that is never followed by paparazzi, the one that never searches or seeks for scandal. This is the fragrance that is always controlled, calculative, and calculated. This sounds perhaps awful, but that's the cold aspect of it. You see, that's again the cold aspect. It's warm, but it has that coolness about it as well. You could say it's arrogant. You could say it's a sort of a snobby kind of a Chanel version. It's like the snobbiest that Chanel could actually get is Allure Sensuelle. It's a very, very sensual, it's a very French kind of type of sensuality. You know, it's not in your face. It's going to lure you in. It's going to flirt with you. You're going to get out of it a lot of satisfaction and pleasure. But you're going to have to give it a lot of time, because it's going to work at its own time, not at your time. So it's in control. And once it decides to settle down on your skin, once it decides to mellow down on your skin, that's when the pleasure kicks in. That's when the satisfaction kicks in. And you have to wait for that. I'm dressed very kind of futuristic, Tron almost, like, for the occasion, because this to me is a fragrance of the future. And I'm saying this because I have a tendency in general of noticing with, social media, with all sorts of communication that we have, all sorts of human communication, whether it be sexual, whether it be emotional. Well, emotional is also sexual, but no matter what sort of communication we have through the internet, because of its own nature, it's cool, it's detached. You're in separate rooms, you're in separate continents maybe even, or separate worlds. And yet there's a kind of a communication, there's a connection. So to me, this fragrance is that to a T. It represents unity with detachment at the same time. It represents passion, it represents, lust, but you can never really, reach to it, grasp it, or grab it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. It's a fragrance that stays away from that. It offers you an image of what that sensuality can be, but it doesn't really give it to you, because you keep hunting it, but it stays cool, no matter how good it turns, and with time it turns better and better and better, it still stays slightly detached from you, you know what I mean? But it's so delicious, my mouth waters. It's nevertheless, every time I smell it, especially as it starts drying down. And you can see, I don't do this with a lot of other fragrance reviews, but with this one, I keep sniffing my arm, because it's elusive. It doesn't really just come to me and stick with me, It doesn't. It keeps shifting to the side. It's never quite there in the nose. It's always a little bit there. You got to kind of find it there, and then it's there. Then you got to go there, and then it's already there, and then you got to sniff it there. And it keeps evading you. And that's its nature. That's how it kind of flirts with you. It's definitely not a fragrance for everybody. That's for sure. So you have to really try it. Give it time. Try it several times, really. This is, if any fragrance ever warranted a sample without, purchasing, because usually now the tendency is, in department stores, fragrance stores, or cosmetic stores, you have to buy something in order to get a sample. That's bullshit. The sample should be given before you buy something, because it should make you want to buy something. If there ever was a fragrance that really warranted a sample before purchase, that would be ALLURE SENSUELLE. And more than 1 milliliter, which is what they do now, or 2 milliliter. It should be a 4-5 milliliter sample. You really have to use it many times. You have to use it during the daytime, nighttime, when it's humid outside, when it's warm, cold, because it really, really kind of has this very diamond type of shape. And depending on how the light hits it, you're going to get different refractions of light coming through it, and you're also going to have different facets of its smell coming through it, according to what sort of environment you're wearing it in. And it's not an easy one. And this, because, diamonds, they look so beautiful, they're so cold. They're so cold, they're so detached from you. And they're so artificial in a way, because, diamonds aren't that rare. We're just making them cost so much. And in a way, this one also is not that rare. It's available everywhere. You could find it. Actually, I don't know if Amazon offers it, but I'll put an affiliate link in the description box down below in case I see that a good price is available for this one. In the description box down below. Otherwise, I won't. What is fascinating, it really blends the 90s with the 2000s. I know it's a fragrance from 2005, but it blends so well what, maybe there's a hint of 80s there as well, but it blends like so much what the 90s are, and then it kind of creates an essence of it, and then it prepares it for the 2000s, if that makes any sense. And then, you know, now we're in 2017, so right now, I guess it's still, I have to say, this one more than Allure is up to date because of this futuristic aspect of it that I already mentioned. It's definitely more modern than Allure and more timeless. This one managed to transcend time more. I know that I said in my review of Allure, of the hair mist in particular, which I do use, you could check out the review in the description box down below, that with Allure it's really difficult to pinpoint out the ingredients. They're so well blended in together and you kind of keep guessing what it is, but you never really can identify them. That's not really the case here. You can identify your ingredients, especially as the longevity of this fragrance progresses, but the more it progresses, the more you're going to be happy that they melt together. And as they melt together, they become warm and luscious. And that's the amazing part of this fragrance, the dry down. It's very abstract. What can I say? I have to leave it at that. Longevity and projection to end. It lasts a fairly decent amount of time on the skin. I smell it even 7 hours after on my skin. I have to bury myself in it, but I smell it. And projection, arm's length, it's not overpowering. I haven't tried the Pure Parfum. Perhaps the Pure Parfum would be. The Eau de Toilette I have tried. The Eau de Toilette is a bit more aggressive. This is one of those rare cases where I say the Eau de Parfum is better than the Eau de Toilette. Usually I'm more of a fan of Eau de Toilettes. Usually, not always, but usually, when it comes to Chanel at least. Here the Eau de Parfum, you know, the Eau de Toilette has more that coolness, it bites, it's more peppery. The Eau de Parfum is warmer, and you need that warmth, in my personal opinion, because otherwise this one stays too cold. And if you're a cold-hearted bitch, go for the Eau de Toilette. If you have a little bit of warmth inside your cold heart, go for Allure Sensuelle Eau de Parfum. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like this review. If you have, please do thumb it up and let me know what you thought about it in the description box down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. No matter how cold-hearted you might be, or how kind of cold or warm-hearted in between you are, or how, and let me take Chanel number 5, the Pure Parfum, as an example, no matter how warm-hearted you are, always balance all those aspects out in your life to have a healthy life. Best way to have a healthy life is to never give up on life. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon. Take care. Bye.